Get going. Hey guys, my name is Brant Phillips. As many of you know, I'm a full-time real estate entrepreneur and do a lot of my investing with the use of private capital and private money to do my residential real estate investing, flip properties, rental properties, all that kind of stuff. And so I've invited with me Jillian Sidoti, who is an SEC attorney, who's going to go over some of the basics of the SEC and kind of things that you can do and things that you should not do as well to avoid getting yourself into trouble. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Jillian with me this morning.
Hi everyone. Thanks for having me today, Brant.
Thank you for joining. I know that you have told me like you've got, I believe, 2 kids, another on the way, and a couple dogs. And I'm the same way. And my wife's sleeping because the baby didn't sleep last night. We've got 3 kids. Hopefully they're going to cooperate during this interview. I've promised them some sugar treats and other things later today if they can cooperate for the next half hour. So we'll see how that goes. So, yeah, so let's get started. Let's just dive into this. Tell a little bit about yourself and your background, I guess, is a good way to get started.
Well, I actually started out before I was a practicing lawyer. I was full time in real estate investing. We did condo conversions down in San Diego, and so we would take an entire apartment building and bring it down to the studs and refurbish the entire thing, and then sell off the individual units. And it was the greatest way to learn how to get into the real estate business because it literally touched every aspect of real estate investing: apartment buildings, flips, rentals. It touched everything, and it also taught me how to deal with government inefficiency in a major way too, because we had to remap every property and rezone every property that we purchased. So it wasn't any easy feat, but it was very profitable at the time. And then in 2006, 2007, I had my law license at that point. And the market basically just fell apart. So there wasn't, also the laws changed regarding condo conversion. So there wasn't any point to continue on doing that. So I started practicing law, and where I saw a real need was people weren't able to get bank financing the way they used to. When I was doing condo conversions, we could leverage a property 3 times before a bank would stop lending us money. So we would have 125% financing on some properties because that's just what you could do back in 2004, 2005. We all know that stopped. So people had to start finding a different way to raise money. And I saw a lot of real estate investors specifically not doing it the right way and violating securities laws. So I saw a real need to assist real estate investors with raising money, doing it the right way, doing it successfully. And, I've learned a lot from my clients. I've seen what works and what doesn't work, and hopefully I can share some of that today.
Awesome. Thank you for that awesome intro and background. Like I've found whenever I'm working with, whether it be, it could be attorneys, it could be accountants, whatever in the investing industry, whenever I build a team, like I found it so much more valuable, the relationship, whenever the person I'm working with has some investing background in investing and experience. It just makes the depth and like the realness of the conversation so much better because they can see it through my eyes and my perspective. So that's, to me, a big advantage that you have that experience.
Thank you.
Big advantage.
Yeah, and it has helped a lot because I do understand the struggle of a real estate investor trying to get the deal done while at the same time not breaking any laws and being able to get the money together in an efficient and inexpensive way.
Yeah, absolutely. So the audience today, we're probably going to have real estate investors of all different experience levels. But for the new guys out there, the newbies that are just getting started up, could you give them just a general, just kind of the Cliff Notes version of the SEC and just kind of defining what a security is and what it is not?
Absolutely. So that is probably one of the most misunderstood things out there that I do this, then this doesn't count. If I do this, then this doesn't count. And there's definitely exemptions from the rule, but an exemption only means you don't have to register. It doesn't mean that you're exempt from following the other rules that allow you to be exempt. So first, let's define what a security is. And a security is, and if you are watching this and you're taking notes, this is the thing you want to definitely write down. There's four steps that you want to look at. Number one, is there an investment of money? So number one, investment of money. Number two, is the investor who's investing the money expecting profits? Are they expecting profits? And so a lot of times what I hear is, well, I'm paying my note holder interest, not profits, and therefore it's not a security. No. It's a profit to the investor, and the interest is a profit to the investor. So is the investor making money on the deal is a better way to maybe word it. And if the answer is yes, then you move on to the third one. And the third one is in a common enterprise. So a lot of times what people say to me, or potential clients say to me, is, well, I only have one investor per property, so I get out of the common enterprise element. I only have one investor. If you only have one investor, period, then you don't have a common enterprise. You're good to go. But if you have one investor over here, one investor over there, and one investor somewhere else, then you've created a common enterprise. The commonality is you, even though they're not all on the same property. Mm-hmm. And finally, the fourth one is, are you doing all the work? It's called through the efforts of a promoter. So in other words, let's just say we'll talk about single family flips. Let's say you do single family flips and you have an investor who invests in a promissory note and it's secured by a deed of trust or mortgage, and you start doing the rehab. You don't say to your investor, now pick up a hammer and come do the rehab with me. No, you do the work. So because you have control, and ultimately that's what it comes down to, because you have control over the investment opportunity and the investor's money, then that's through the efforts of a promoter. And if you answer yes to all four of those, then you're in the world of securities and there's some rules you have to follow.
Excellent. So let's talk about some of the major rules that they will have to follow. And I know one of the big ones is when or if I need to register, and if you don't need to register. And so what I always teach and preach in the way that I run my business is to make sure that I'm raising capital with some of the exceptions, so I don't put myself into the position where I have to file, which I may at some point in time in the future, but I always look for the exceptions, meaning high net worth individuals, people within your relationships, make sure there's no deed of trust, disclosure statements, all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. That is a great point. So you don't have to register if you don't use the means of general solicitation. What does that mean? That you don't advertise for investors. If you're advertising for investors, then you are subjecting yourself to a lot of liability. Yeah. I know a lot of securities boards that just look for general solicitations and then go after those people because they don't have a registered security in their state. Yeah. So going on Facebook and saying you're looking for investors is a big no-no. Going on Craigslist and saying you're looking for investors, big no-no. Pulling ads in the newspaper, anything like that is not a good idea. There's many ways that you can get investors through the door without saying I'm looking for investors. We don't have time to go into all of that now, but there are ways to do it for sure. And but I would say that's the number one thing that gets people in trouble is general solicitation. Even your website cannot say I'm looking for investors or let me help you earn a return on your investments. I've actually had to get many clients out of a cease and desist order because they had that kind of language, like let me put your IRA to work in real estate investing or something like that. That's when you need to have a registered security.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't do general solicitation, if you have a substantive pre-existing relationship with the investor, then your obligations start to go down in terms of what you're obligated to do in the eyes of the law. Let me really quick just say what a substantive pre-existing relationship means. It doesn't mean the guy you live next door to for 20 years, and it doesn't even mean the guy you've been going to RIA meetings with, for the last year. It means somebody you're intimately aware of their financial ability to invest. So you're intimately aware of their financial ability to invest. And if you have that awareness, you can get that awareness pretty quickly with what's called an investor qualification form. If you have that awareness, then you have a pre-existing relationship. So those are the two big things I want you to look out for. Do you have a pre-existing relationship with the investor, and have you used any general solicitation? If the answer is yes to the pre-existing relationship and no to the general solicitation, then you're good to go with an exemption. But you still have to make proper disclosure, something you had mentioned, Brant.
Mm-hmm.
That means you have to tell your investor all the risks. You have to tell them what they're getting to. What I tell people to do is write down the who, what, where, when, how much, and why. Just do it like a reporter. Anything an investor would want to know is what you want to disclose to your investor.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And another thing that I see in the marketing, because I've seen this a lot in the RIA clubs and things like that, is where people are, and I know that they're not registered, and they're doing just what you said. They're going out and they're promoting the returns that they can provide. And they use the word guarantee a lot. And as we all know, nothing in this world is guaranteed. Like, you can't guarantee tomorrow. How are you going to guarantee these returns that may or may not come? I see that. No. I know it's a huge red flag.
Oh, gosh. I shudder at that word guarantee. Mm-hmm. It actually makes my heart race a little bit. There's 4 words. Again, if you're writing notes down, this is something I want you to write down. There's 4 words I want you to never, ever use, and that is low risk, mm-hmm. safe, secure, and guaranteed. Low risk, safe, secure, and guaranteed. Now, people always call me out on the secured. Well, what if I'm offering a deed of trust or mortgage? In that case, it is secured, but I'm going to tell you right now, I always see those 4 words coupled together in SEC and State Securities Board documents. So please, as far as State Securities Boards are concerned, as far as the SEC is concerned, your deal is not low risk. It is not. I know you think it is because you've been in real estate for a while and yada, 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 but it is not low risk. So take that word out. And guaranteed, oh my God, death and taxes, the only 2 guarantees in life. So please don't use the word guaranteed. That is a massive red flag. The other thing is too, I would love to take a survey of how many people who've done that type of advertising at RIA groups have been successful in raising money. And I would almost promise you that 90% of them have not been successful, or maybe even more. I always do this thing when I give a speech in a live situation in front of a live audience where I'll say to people, how many of you have seen an ad on Craigslist that says something like this? Invest in real estate today, offering 18% low risk, guaranteed, safe, and secure, secured by deed of trust or mortgage, however it's written. And, pretty much half the room will put their hand up like, yes, I've seen an ad like that before. And then I'll say, okay, keep your hands up. Now, of you that you have your hands up, how many of you have actually invested in a deal like that? And every single person puts their hand down. Not one single person has ever. And I go, well, why not? That sounds like a great deal. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's not only totally illegal and going to get you in tons of trouble, it's completely ineffective. So why do it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen those guys, and they get up, to make the pitch, and they promote these big high returns. And the funny thing is, like, after a lot of all the Wall Street scandals and the Madoff kind of stuff going on, so what we found is, like, some of these guys were talking about 12, 15, 18%, And then, so I always make it a point, like I never pitch like in front of the room. I never talk about interest rates unless I'm like I have that relationship already established. But so the funny thing was like whenever, especially when all the Madoff stuff was going on, it was almost like if you were throwing out like 12, 15, 18%, like people didn't trust you. But then you start to have a private conversation, you're talking about 6 to 8%, and like, okay, now let's talk. Because that really seemed like, you know, something that was more reasonable. And so, yeah, I totally agree. Like, first off, like it doesn't pass the kind of the sniff test. Like something doesn't even smell right when guys are putting those kind of numbers out. But one thing that you did say that raised a thought in my mind was, so like for sure, like, you know, you can't say guaranteed, safe, low risk, all that kind of stuff. But so I had spoke to another SEC attorney. I thought it was okay, to be honest with you, that you could say it was secured by the real estate with a note and deed of trust. But are you saying like?
No, I'm saying if it is. I see plenty of
I got you.
Yeah, it absolutely. I was just saying, like, I see those 4 words coupled together all the time.
Safe and secure and all that, just generally speaking. Yeah, I got you.
Sometimes people will do what JV agreements, or they'll do promissory notes that are not necessarily secured. They don't actually, you know, record the deed of trust or mortgage, or something like that. Or I've had people who've started funds and have tried to use that word, and a fund is definitely not secured by real estate. So I want you to use that word with caution, only if you're actually securing it with a deed of trust or mortgage.
Right. Awesome. Okay, so then I mean, it's kind of an obvious thing, but so, you know, in the world of the internet nowadays, there's tons of forms and paperwork out there. You can just download forms. So should an investor ever either prepare paperwork for one of their private lenders by themselves or accept money directly from a private lender?
Oh, that's such a great question. Here's the thing. Like, the way I say this is that I'm a very cheap person. I buy my kids toys for Christmas at the used kids store. I don't, you know, I'm extremely cheap. If I could do my own appendectomy, I would, but I can't. I can't do my own appendectomy.
Likewise, yeah.
Foolish, right?
Yeah.
I can't take my own tonsils out. I have to go to a doctor, and I have to pay money to do that, or somebody has to pay money for that to happen, and I need to use a professional. And that's what I normally say to people is, like, you really want to use a professional when it comes to these things. Even if you know that investment of money will do with an attorney, and with an attorney, not a service, please. I have to, you know, people come to me all the time and go, I went to like this person who wasn't an attorney, but they do this all the time, and they wrote my private placement, or they wrote my disclosure doc, and oh my God, the things, I won't even touch them anymore. Our firm actually has a policy that we won't correct somebody else's work, because it turns out to be harder for me to correct their work than it is to write it from scratch.
Right.
That being said, if you're not even, you don't even know what you're doing, and you haven't even had any experience doing this, then to me, it's absolutely foolishness. I will tell you, I've had this happen with a client on more than one occasion who was doing it themselves and going in on their own. And then they came to me, and they decided to do it, have me write their documents. And they actually raised more money after I wrote their documents for them, because the documents were so much more professional, and it showed they really cared and spent the time to get it together. So for those reasons alone, I think you should always use a professional. I'm not trying to sell our services here, but really quick, one of the things we try to pride ourselves on is helping the little guy who's never done this before, making it affordable. You know, we don't have a big chandelier in the middle of our lobby that we have to maintain. Right. So we really run a tight, you know, inexpensive ship around here with the highest quality. This is all we do. All we do is write securities transaction documents. We don't do any litigation. We don't do any other transactions. Securities transactions only, and 85% of our business is real estate related. So you can't get more specialized than that for
Yeah.
what you're looking for. And we really try to make it affordable for the little entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So I really want you to, even if you don't call us, I want to encourage you guys out there, just call an attorney, ask them what you need. You don't want to have a mistake in there that could be the end of your business. And the other thing is too, when an attorney does the work for you and something goes wrong, you can always rely, most of the time, if they carry it, you can always rely on the attorney's insurance, E&O malpractice insurance. So, you're buying into the better quality document, you're buying into the malpractice insurance, you're buying into a lot of different things that are going to totally just put your business in a different category.
Yeah, absolutely. And so one of the things that I found is something that you hit on is, like, you had a client who actually raised more money after he had the documents professionally prepared. And so that's one of the things that I think that private lenders, they just pick up on the more polished professional investors. And so that's how we're able to raise money oftentimes at much, much lower rates even than other investors, some of my competitors. Because I've had lenders who've worked with other guys and they've gotten burned. They've had deals that weren't put together properly and things like that. So we can kind of speak from a position of authority and security, meaning that we feel secure with the way that our business is run, everything's put together, the way that we've built our team. And so that's one thing that I highly, highly encourage people when I do events and things, like, never do your own paperwork. And I'm speaking just for single family residential homes. Never accept money from a private lender. Like, we've literally had lenders just want to cut us a check. Like, no, everything's done at the title company. Note and deed of trust. Everything's recorded. Everything's prepared by an attorney. I will not be doing any paperwork. I won't touch any of your money directly. It'll all go through the title company. Just be above board in everything that you do. And then that's what I found will help your business grow. Your lenders will pick up on that, on your professionalism, on your team, who you're surrounding yourself with, versus, you download some form off 99centforms.com or whatever, and just like, come on now. We're not going to legal Zoom this either. Nothing against legal Zoom. No, just don't do it. It will cost you so much more money in the long run when you don't do things the right way. I always like to say that the difficult things become easy and easy becomes difficult. So I know in the beginning, especially you mentioned that you're cheap, as am I, and we want to cut corners. That's just our natural inclination. But all the times that I've cut corners, like in renovations and things like that, and doing a lot of work myself on things that I shouldn't be doing, like, it always, almost always costs me money in the long run. It costs me, it'll cost me time, or it'll cost me money.
Oh, absolutely. And I've had people who've done their own documents, or have had, I've had the three scenarios. They've done their own documents. Well, actually 4 scenarios. They've had no documents. They've done their own documents. They paid a non-attorney or non-attorney service to prepare documents, or they paid an attorney that was not specialized in securities. Like, so for example, a small business attorney who gave them a cutthroat rate because they'd never really done it before. So instead of charging them what a private placement or a disclosure document should cost, they charged $1,500 or $500 or something ridiculously low. And what ends up happening is then a lawsuit happens, or the state securities board gets involved, or something happens where they didn't get the proper advice. And with that, they end up spending more money on a real securities attorney to get them out of trouble. And I could name, what I always say to my potential clients is, you can pay me a little money now, or you can pay me a lot of money later. Yeah. And those are really your choices. And it's happened a lot. And I don't want it to happen. I hate getting calls where, oh, the state securities board contacted me, or, oh, I just got a subpoena, or I hate those calls. As a matter of fact, I usually try to move it over to another more experienced securities litigation attorney to handle it, because my stomach, like, on behalf of my clients, my stomach can't handle it. So yeah. I can't imagine how the client feels, and if their stomach can't even handle it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm telling you, you can't. You will lose sleep. So don't lose sleep. Just do it right the first time.
Absolutely. Agree 100%. 100%. So the last thing I wanted to share with everyone is, so you're probably saying, you might be like, oh no, like there's so many things, like it's impossible at this point because I can't say this or I can't do this. And so I wanted to give a little strategy suggestion in the way that we go about raising private money. And so it's all through private personal networks that we establish with people. And then the other thing that we do is, rather than promote, safe returns, guaranteed things, we do none of that. But we take an education role that we'll just educate people on, hey, there's this opportunity in the market. This is what it looks like, and just provide general information just to educate people. And so what happens, and I found this kind of on just by going to meetings and watching other people and see what was working and what wasn't working. And so the funny thing that happened was I saw a lot of other investors, they were getting up, pitching a deal, talking about rates of return and all that kind of stuff. And it didn't really seem like they were putting out a good vibe, and they weren't getting a lot of attention, when they were going back to the back of the room and that kind of stuff. So what I found that worked is just like during these meetings and during networking RIA meetings, just to kind of offer some suggestions or strategies, describe what you're doing in your business that's working, and kind of just ask the sophisticated kind of questions whenever you go to networking meetings. And so what I found is, like, the more I just shared just general information, the more that I shared perhaps a case study of a deal that we did that went well, like that began to attract people coming up to me that wanted to know more about my business, and they were opening the door rather than me knocking on their door and going after them. Just taking the role of an educator and an advocate of an opportunity that exists in the market, and just letting them know, hey, this is out there. This is what it is. I'm not offering anything. I'm not guaranteeing anything. I'm just letting you know about some information that exists in the marketplace. And I found that has been a great way just to open the door.
No, that's perfect, because here's the thing. What I always tell people is, like, you could share until you're blue in the face. No one's going to steal your ideas. No one's going to steal your deal. Inherently, I always use this analogy. Most people are Homer Simpson. They don't want to go out and look for deals, and they don't want to go out and do the rehab. It's so much easier for them to write a check. Heck, that's what I do. I have a ton of real estate investments around the country. The ones that do the best are the ones that I don't own. Yeah. Are the ones that I'm not responsible for. So, I'm a full-time attorney, not a full-time real estate investor. And so I trust people who are full-time real estate investors, who are daily taking care of the investment opportunity. I'm my own Homer Simpson. Even though I do own my own rental properties and things like that, I hate it. I wish I could get rid of them, because that's work for me. Yeah. Whereas other investment opportunities I have is not work for me. So if you just show people that you know what you're doing and you're an expert, and I find it's a couple of different things. It's telling people how, giving information, giving value to the potential investor, number one, which you've already talked about, is the education. Number two, positioning yourself as an expert in that marketplace or that field, whatever it might be, which by virtue of the education happens. And third, and I think this is equally important, is showing enthusiasm for your own business. Yeah. If you don't show enthusiasm for your own business, how is anybody else going to show enthusiasm for your business? Yeah. So one of the best fundraisers I know is somebody online who is on Facebook. He never asks for money. He always talks about, I'm so excited to go and start this rehab project. We just bought it for this price. They ever exist. I'm going to put this much money into it. I can't wait. I'm so excited to get started because I'd like to get this done before Christmas or something like that. Yeah. And he does, and then he has before and afters. And if you're not taking before and afters, and it's not bragging, it's literally It's not, because a lot of people say to me, well, I don't want to do that because I don't want to look like I'm bragging and da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, no, it's not bragging. It's being enthusiastic about your business. Yep. So be a little enthusiastic about your business. You don't have to talk about how awesome you are and great. Just talk about how excited you are about your own business. That's it.
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. So I used to almost want to downplay some of my success and things like that in the beginning, because I was almost like I didn't want the lender to know how much money I was making, right? I was like almost wanting to hide that. And then it clicked on me. I was like, wait a second. Like, I'm pretty sure, and after some discussions with lenders, like, they feel better when I'm making a lot of money. They want me to make a lot of money, okay? And so, like, that was like a thing. It's like, okay, like, you don't brag about it. You don't boast about it. But it's okay to share that when you have successes. And I've had deals that have gone bad. And so my lenders still get paid. Like, I've never not paid a lender. It hurts me financially out of pocket. Like, this deal went bad. But being open and honest and sharing that with them, and kind of it's kind of, you know, kind of converse thinking. But there's one particular lender I know, and he has a general rule that he won't lend money to an investor unless, like, he knows that they've lost money on a deal, because he knows that if you're an active investor, you're going to lose money at some point in time. It's just a part of the business. So if someone's talking about how they've never lost money on a deal, either things, one, that they're lying, or two, they haven't been in the game long enough. Right. So it's just converse thinking. Like, you would never think about that, but share your successes. Don't brag or boast. But that makes your lenders feel good that you know what you're doing, that you can structure a deal to be very profitable. And when a deal goes bad, be open and honest about it. Honor your agreement, making sure that they get paid. You take the loss. They don't take a loss. And that open transparency is what just fosters more relationships in lending. So.
Absolutely. No, couldn't be more true. That's perfect scenario. It's so funny because right before I logged on to do this interview today, I was on Facebook, and somebody had posted something about, you know, Kevin O'Leary, who's the shark, one of the sharks in Shark Tank. He had posted this video about how important failure is to the entrepreneur. Like, you must fail in order to be wildly successful, period. Yeah. So that way, you know, for example, if you're getting rejected from Shark Tank, that's not a mark of absolute death. It's a mark of failure, which is only going to help you with ultimate success.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Jillian, I really appreciate you taking time out of your weekend morning today, away from the family. And would you like to just give your general contact information, and I'll put it on this on the YouTube page as well.
Sure. Everybody can call me at 323-799-1342. I'm on the West Coast. We have 3 offices, 2 in California and 1 in Florida. We have 3 attorneys. So when you're calling, just keep that in mind. I'm on the West Coast. And my email address, which you can reach me at anytime, is Jillian@syndicationlawyers.com. That's syndicationlawyers.com. And I want to encourage everybody to go to that website, because we have a ton of free content, like almost too much. So if you have a question and you're up late at night at 3 a.m. and you need to have it answered right away, go there, because we might have already answered it for you.
Awesome. Love it. Appreciate you taking the time, helping, educating everybody, keeping them out of trouble. And like I said, I'll post all of Jillian's information here, so you guys watching this at a later date will be able to find that. And Jillian, when I do my live interviews, I like to end with a fist bump. So we'll do a little virtual fist bump on helping the people out. Boom. There it is.
Perfect. Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
You too. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.